Hello and welcome to the Kickstarter Coach podcast. My name is John Garcia. I am your Kickstarter coach, and I am updating you on a couple of things, mostly our upcoming Kickstarter campaign called Meeple Beach. If you get to watch this video on YouTube, I'm going to screen share our Kickstarter page as we're building it out, which is pretty cool and I think very, a good information for anyone that wants to launch a Kickstarter. Last week we didn't do a podcast, but we did add the webinar to the podcast. So we did the Kickstart My Game webinar, recorded that so that you can see kind of the blueprint or my journey through the first Kickstarter campaign. It includes, some of the most important things, which was building the audience and building up our email list and really launching our Kickstarter campaign. I explained the difference between launching and starting, right? Launch is like a rocket. You got to think of it just, blasting off, right? Where to do that, you need to have a lot of energy, a lot of momentum going into the campaign. And you see it on all the comments on the Kickstarter pages and the board game group pages on Facebook. Some of the most important advice is build that community, build that momentum, have a lot of attention on it going into it, because you can't really count on Kickstarter. If you're counting on the Kickstarter audience to just kind of go to your campaign and find it, you're kidding yourself, because especially if you are a new designer or a young company, you're competing against 400 to 500 games per month. So the odds that they're going to stumble across yours is very slim to none, and it's just not the right strategy. So the webinar talks about that and some of the tactics that we use, including the landing pages and emails. So great stuff. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check out the Kickstart My Game webinar. As part of this service, we do offer a free 1-hour Kickstarter preparedness call where I really look at everything that you're doing and give you some great feedback. Even if that's all you did, it could make the difference really between a successful launch or not. And it's still complimentary. So you go to kickstartercoach.com and you just click a free Kickstarter preparedness call and we will get that done. What else happened last week? Well, we had a kind of a review by Rob Oren on Rob's Tabletop World. He got wind of the big box version of our game. And we did that only for the family edition. So our game has a pro edition, which has wooden tiles, and a family edition, which has cardboard tops. And with the cardboard tiles, since they're a little bit lighter, it weighs a little bit less, we decided to go ahead and create a big box, which is something that our backers were asking for. A lot of backers were buying the main game and the expansions, and they were all asking for one box to put it all in. Now, we did have a pledge goal with a custom case that held, I think about 70 tiles, which still actually wasn't enough. So it was a little bit of a disappointment for some backers. They wanted everything in one big box. So we did that with the family edition. It has the 25 base game tiles, then also 25 bonus tiles. So it's a duplicate set. It has the 9 driving range tiles, the 10 European expansion tiles, and then all 10 of the Kickstarter kind of stretch goal tiles. We had 6 stretch goal tiles, but then we had another 4 that were locked. They were never unlocked. And we just decided to make all 10 into a kind of an expansion. And they're so much fun. Unfortunately, though, we forgot to put the stretch goal reference card in the big box. So I had to make these cards separately, a couple of $100, and then I emailed all the backers who had the big box. And so we do have the links to these digital versions online. People could download them and print them. But I wanted to make sure that if somebody wanted the physical card, that they can get it. And a lot of people responded, and a lot of people, we had about 50 so far, respond and tell us that they want us to mail them the physical card. Excuse me. So we did that. We've been doing that and keeping up with that. So the big box is a success. I mean, it's 79 tiles, all those different expansions, lots of different ways to play, tons of replayability. I mean, endless replayability. So thank you, Rob Oren, for that. Rob's a huge fan. He's done a tournament with the TGA. Him and I played at Dice Tower East last year, and he beat me. That bum. He got the trophy. We had a great time with it. So Rob can never, I couldn't ask for a bigger supporter. He just truly embraced it. His love of board games and golf is kind of like exactly where I come from. And, it hit him right, in the bullseye there. So always great to get, feedback like that. I was a little worried because the cardboard edition, it just, obviously quality wise, the graphics are just as beautiful, but it's cardboard. If you wet it, it's going to damage. Where the wooden ones are water resistant, you drop water on it, you could just wipe it off. As long as it's not sitting in water for too long, it's going to be fine. And then the cardboard tiles are also, they have a little bit of stick, to them since it's paper. And so the ball glides beautifully and smoothly, but it's a touch slower than the wooden ones. I think most people actually appreciate that because the wooden one really is hard to keep that thing under control. So these, it's a little less, skill, if you will, or, a little more control. And I was just a little worried of how he would perceive it. He loved it, loved it, loved it. In fact, said it might even be better in certain situations than the Pro Edition. So that was great last week. And yeah, we started building the Kickstarter page. I'm gonna go ahead and share it. I know we don't have a ton of people yet watching this podcast, but I think, looking back on it is going to be cool because I already, it was a very, interesting lesson that I learned this week. I had to kind of take my own medicine or my own, advice. I started thinking I was clever, and having a junior league, amateur league, pro league, and senior league pledge. So that's already 4. And then I was going to have each pledge in the family and pro edition. So now I have 8 pledges, already. And I coach people on really no more than 4 or 5 pledge levels. So I did it, and I was excited about those names and thought, it's cute and it's obviously a play on golf and the different leagues. But then I realized it's just too much. It just looked a little too complicated. So we have streamlined it. And right now, what we're doing is we're offering the family edition. So the family edition is the cardboard, and you'll see in the story I explain it. And then the family edition at 50, and the the MSRP is probably 55. So you save on the Kickstarter. And the Pro edition at 75, and the MSRP there is 85. So you save 10. So there you go, base game of each, right? And then we're going to go ahead and blow everyone's minds because we're literally still developing some of this. But we are going to go ahead and do a family edition big box of Meeple Beach and a family edition big box in the pro edition big box. So this is the first time we're going to do a pro edition big box. My concerns are the wood and tiles are heavy and the plastic insert can break and damage the tile. So we may have to work with the factory on a more durable insert there. So now we've narrowed it down to basically 4 pledges, and it's really 2 because it's 2 of each. So the family edition base game or the family edition big box, or do you want to go with the pro edition base game or the pro edition big box at 155? And you'll see why this is really a tremendous value. I think the retail is $185 or $190 for this. So that is really, we feel good about this. It's very clear. You'll see the images and, it explains it more. But basically, if you're just listening to the podcast, again, the main thing was to offer, really just exactly what's required, like no more. You don't want to complicate the pledge levels. So I really have, the pro and the family edition, and then 2 options in each. If you just want the game, or do you want the entire of a big box? So I'm going to show you somehow how our story's coming along. And again, for the people listening, I'll kind of describe it a little bit more. But, it's interesting for us because this is our 3rd campaign. We had the pro edition in 2022. We had the family edition last year. And now we're going with Meeple Beach. And then there's some surprises that we're gonna let people know about the expansions ahead of time. But they're definitely surprises because we're still actually developing some of these. So, I love this graphic. It's an actual picture of the game on the table. So whenever you can do that right up front, that's what we recommend. That game laid out, all of the components, on the table, or as, kind of like as many of them as you can fit, but just giving the person the visual right away of what this thing will look like on the table. And for our game, I think one of the advantages we have is excuse me, that image quickly conveys exactly like what you're getting. And you see the balls on these tiles here, the balls are on the tiles. So, you kind of just quickly can grasp that this is a, flicking game, that there's little balls, you're trying to get it in the hole like real golf. And I think it works big time to our advantage because there's not a lot to explain. Yes, it has its rules. Yes, it has its mechanics, of course. And that only draws people more into the game. But if you could get a picture of everything on the table, it's pretty common practice. You want to do that right off the bat. Um, I'll just read some of the copy here. Meeple Beach could easily be the most beautiful and challenging table golf association course yet. Inspired by beautiful oceanside golf courses around the world like the iconic Pebble Beach, this is a complete standalone game that comes with 28 double-sided terrain tiles in both the Pro and Family editions. So right away, we're addressing what backers are going to be concerned about. Can I get it in the Pro edition? So yes, you can. It tells you right away it has 28 tiles. The original versions, all the versions up until now had 25. So we decided to add 3 more tiles without really raising the price at all, adding more value, because when you design a hole, the tee box and the hole are mandatory, right? Every hole has to start with a tee box and end with the hole. So that's 2 tiles right there. And then we have the other hole tile in the game, which obviously each course only has 1 hole, per hole. So you don't use that one. So we thought, there's kind of 3 tiles that, 2 that you always have to use and 1 that you're not going to use because it's the other hole. So let's give you 25 tiles that you can actually design with. So now you have 25 plus the tee box and the 2 hole. So we thought that was a nice upgrade. We talk about the Pro and Family Edition right off the top, just because if we are going to have new people obviously coming to the campaign and they're going to want to know what the difference is. So we made that very clear. I'm going to be adding, new review videos, but I definitely want to have this review video with Rob. He put it in his top 8 of the top 23 games of 2023. And, to be in his top 10 was an honor. And the way he, describes our game and is so passionate about our game, we definitely wanted to have it there. And then we're going to go into the pledge levels right away. And this is something I learned, listening to feedback from last year. And basically, when people are on their mobile devices and they're scrolling, they they don't see on the right side the pledge levels the same way. You have to kind of, as you do on a computer or a laptop. So it is a good idea to have the pledge levels within the story feed and don't bury it all the way down at the end. Let people know right away what you're offering. So, we have a little introduction, we have a video, and then boom, family edition, $50, family edition big box, $100. And then in the graphic, it tells you, 28 beautifully illustrated double-sided tiles in our family edition. It says cardboard, and then MSRP 55. So you're saving at least $5 on the Kickstarter. And then the family edition big box says 28 beautifully illustrated double-sided tiles, plus both expansions, 25 bonus tiles, and 4 additional TGA balls. That's 76 tiles in one big box, MSRP $120. So you're saving $20 off the retail. And I'm going to make sure that I remind people that you can't always find these games at retail. We are a small, publisher. We have small distribution. We have not a very big footprint. If you want this game, this really is the best way to get it. Unlike big board game companies that are on Kickstarter, they're going to make the game anyway and put it everywhere. It's not true for, small guys like me. So we're going to, definitely remind our backers that this is the best way to get the game. The Pro Edition, we have it at 75, like we did in previous campaigns, and it retails for 85. And then the Pro Edition Big Box at 155, and it retails for 180. So you are saving money, but it is, it's the premium option. It's definitely the most responsive board. It is much more difficult to control. It's for people who maybe just really love the dexterity challenge. So that's all fine and dandy, everybody's cool with this. We're going to talk a little bit about, our progress throughout the years, maybe a couple other review videos, and then we're going to talk about our expansions. And you guys are hearing it here for the very first time. No, we haven't spoken about this, shared this, or anything, but we are really excited about these expansions. The stadium course expansion. If you're a golfer, the waste management. It's going on right now as I record this tournament. And they have hole number 16 is completely surrounded by a stadium. So there's grandstands from tee box to green and literally wraps around the entire hole. You see a little snippet of it here. If you don't know or not familiar with it, look it up. And it's amazing. The crowd go crazy. People are having their libations all day long, so they are easily excited. And the game, this actually serves a dual purpose. So it's aesthetically, it's going to look amazing. It's going to like, really kind of take the course to the next level as far as how it looks, but it's going to have a practical application as well. The stadium tiles are going to be thicker than the thickest wooden tiles. So by doing that, it's going to create a backstop because a lot of people hit it too hard and the ball goes flying off the table. Somebody has to catch it, or people put other things like books or boxes around the board, and obviously that looks terrible. So now you're going to place these cool stadium tiles at the edge of your course, and when someone flicks, if it goes too far, it'll hit the stadium tile. It'll still be out of bounds, and you'll still have to hit again with a penalty. But at least your balls don't go flying off the table. They don't crack and things like that. And again, it's just going to look amazing. So the stadium course will have 10 beautifully illustrated tiles, and it will convert any hole into a stadium. So that, I mean, I'm pumped about that. If you're a golfer and a board game lover, like you should be here with the TGA, it's great. Just as a board game fan, you love the practicality that now you're not chasing the balls, especially if you're playing solo. If you're playing solo, there's no one at the other end to catch it. So you probably would put, some kind of obstacles on the table. Now you don't have to. Now it's going to look great. So excited about that. Excuse me. And this one is awesome. So we have a lot of fans from Canada, other, cold regions of the world. And obviously cold weather and golf don't go along too good. But man, the courses are beautiful. You go to these areas of the world and the golf courses are just in the middle of the wilderness. There's mountains, there's giant pine trees, there's just vibrant colors. And we wanted to turn that into a game. But I really think it works really well as an expansion. And not pictured there. Obviously, if you're only listening to this, you can't hear it. But for those watching this for the first time, I'm going to show you something we're super excited about. So before I do, the Meeple Beach edition is our first edition with a 3D obstacle. So it's going to have these little trees. All right. Now, we came up with a great way to incorporate this without turning it into a miniature golf game. So I don't like the idea of just balls bouncing all over the place and turning it into a miniature golf. It's fun. I'm not knocking it. It just wasn't my vision. It wasn't what I wanted for the TGA. But every single time we display the game, somebody somewhere says, "Oh, there should be sand in the sand trap, or sandpaper, or there should be, hills and things like that." What they don't understand, first of all, is in golf, theoretically, the ball's going through the air, so it's going over the sand. Even though the ball on the game is rolling through it, you have to picture it as it's going through the air. So I explained that, meaning only where the ball ends up or lands is the tile or the terrain that affects the next shot. That's why it can just roll through the water, because it's not going through the water, it's going over the water. And then people are like, "Oh, okay, I get it, I get it." So how do we put a tree? Let's say it's like right in front of a tee box or a couple tiles away from a tee box, and you not hit it. You would always hit it, right? So the way that we did it is the trees are not on the board when you first flick, because again, it's going through the air. But if you land on a tile with the tree, then you place the tree on the tile, and then there's mechanics to deal with it. So I love that. It really works good. It adds a fun new mechanic. It adds obviously a great aesthetic to the game. It looks amazing. And then we just started wanting to build off of that. So with the frozen tundra, we have mountains, snow-capped, of course, and they are super awesome. These were custom made for us. They're kind of like that squishy, stress reliever kind of thing. And man, it's probably a stress causer in the game, but this is so cool. So there will be mountain tiles, and now you have a physical mountain obstacle. So you can hit it off the mountain. And there's only two of them, so it's not like you could go crazy with tons of mountains, but it adds just enough drama, just enough aesthetic, just enough, cool gameplay that I think it's really gonna work, and it's gonna be part of the frozen tundra. So you'll have the two mountains and 10 double-sided tiles that are going to include a frozen lake, beautiful pine trees, and then of course those mountains. So it's going to be an awesome expansion, especially if you're in a cold weather, region of the world. I think you're going to super appreciate it. And so they're going to all come in the big box. So you're going to, in the big box, you will include the stadium course, you're going to include the frozen tundra expansion, and then you're going to include 4 additional balls. So you'll have 8 balls because you can't play with 8 players. Teams of 2 is really how we kind of do that. But you would share, like one person would take a drive, mark it, and then the other player, because it comes with 4 balls. You can easily buy more of these balls online. Obviously, not the branded TGA ones, but these little sliders are available online. And we also sell 4 packs of the balls. But in the expansion, they're going to come together. And I'm sorry, in the big box. And in the big box, you also get a bonus 25 of the base game tile. So that now you have 4 holes and 2 tee boxes. So you can really do a massive course on one table, plus obviously all the expansion. So here it is. Now I have a little close-up of the ball with the Meeple. We're going to talk about how to play the game, have the video rule book. So once we get the new promos are on their way, we're going to do a cool video rule book. So every page in the rule book has a QR code. Not every page, but every time we talk about something different. So although it's very simple to play, we want to make it super clear how to explain it. I highly recommend that. Some more review videos, and then of course pictures of people playing. Stretch goals. We're working on some ideas, and I'll update that next week. But we have actually some pretty cool ideas to maybe have a little golf flags that you put in the hole. Again, it'd be just more of an aesthetic thing. An idea for a ramp that I had. So like instead of flicking, so a lot of people do have trouble flicking, and I think they stay away from the game because they're embarrassed almost. I can understand that because if you're just terrible. So even with the little cardboard puck, it just kind of, some people can get frustrated rather than understand that it is difficult and it's a challenge that you get better. It's a game of action and skill. We're thinking about adding a small ramp. And so you would just place the ball on the ramp, and depending how high you place it, it'll go further and faster. So that's another idea for the stretch goals. Obviously, the print and play custom pro player cards. So really, we want to do some unique things in the stretch goals. I totally believe in them. I totally think Kickstarter backers should be rewarded with unique items that are really, make me, the creator, go that extra mile, because I so appreciate what people are doing here on Kickstarter to back the game. And shipping, I'm going to end with this because I'm also going to talk about the bad news for the week, which is also shipping. But, we just picked up a distributor in Canada. It's called Full Wedge Golf. They're an apparel golf company, and they've agreed to take in our game. So Canadian backers are going to be happy because it's going to bring shipping way down. And, the conversion rate of dollars to Canadian also makes it more expensive in Canada. So we get great support in Canada, and so I wanted to really find a way to thank them and give them another reason to back. And so I'm excited about that. Full Wedge is an amazing company. Andrew is the owner, and we met at the golf show actually in PGA. So another quick lesson learned, board game conventions are important, but if you have any kind of, if your thing is about race cars, if your thing is about drinking games, go to food and drink festivals. Like find the communities that are, adjacent to that board game theme, and make your networking there as well. Obviously, ours is a golf game. We were at the PGA Golf Show, and the booth right next to us was Full Wedge, and we became friends. They loved the game. And boom, next thing you know, they're going to be carrying us in Canada. So that's awesome. We're going to be talking again a little bit more to Portal Games about seeing if they can handle the EU and just use Aleto for the UK. Our factory in China was amazing handling Australia and Asia backers. So, we're starting to get that help, and it makes shipping, which is probably the bane of my existence, is probably, the most difficult part of Kickstarter fulfillment. And if you could, really kind of have good partners, because, it's going to help. So I'll end the podcast this week with, we've had a lot of issues with the UK EU shipping through Aleto in the UK. Now, Aleto and their people are good people. I'm not saying that they're not. However, they didn't take control of the situation right away, and they were being misled by their fulfillment company. So I thought initially Aledo had their own fulfillment and they were gonna, they are our distributor in the UK. And so that's my fault. I should have been crystal clear of what their role is in the fulfillment process. So they're outsourcing it to another fulfillment company. And that fulfillment company let them down, misled them, gave them bad information. So I was pretty much sending bad updates on my Kickstarter. And, without a doubt, we have people that are skeptical, to say the least, about our shipping updates. And I've taken that very personally, obviously. It's been very disappointing because, like any reputation, it takes a lot to build it up and it takes a very little to knock it back down. And as transparent as I've been, as forthcoming as I've been, it's tarnished my relationship on Kickstarter, and I'm going to go out of my way to do something special for UK EU backers if they back again in the next campaign. I'm not sure yet what that is. I have already mentioned it in some of my Kickstarter updates, but the bottom line is like the TGA will not, could not be, and will not be without the Kickstarter community, or at least crowdfunding in general. We do not have the luxury of making this game without Kickstarter at all. There's just no way I could do it. Any money we've made, we've put it back into design and trying to build our network. And we're just still not in a situation where there's enough orders and cash flow where we can just go ahead and just say, okay, pre-order online and we're going to release this game. We are happy that Quartermaster picked us up as a distributor here in the US. That's going to definitely help with all that. PGA Tour Superstores placed a reorder. Rock Bottom Golf placed a reorder. So things are happening, but it's still kind of just on the bubbling up stage. So without Kickstarter backers, we cannot continue to do this. And so I want to just go out of my way to show how much I appreciate them, and just taking, I'm just saying this so you could learn from the lessons that mistakes that I've made. And in this situation, I do think it's vital, it's critical that I try to repair those relationships as much as possible. And so that's where I'm at. So didn't end on a happy note. The update there is Aledo does have a new fulfillment company, that they do have the games, and that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, these games are shipping out. So all I can do is have faith. And at this point, though, if something goes goes astray again, I'm gonna have to take drastic measures and take the games back and ship them myself. And that is worst case scenario at this point. So let's just hope and pray that that doesn't come to that. So there you go. That is the Kickstarter Coach podcast for this week. And you saw a lot of the journey here with the campaign page. So thank you for being a part of it. Please share it, please share it, please comment. I know that right now the audience is small, but that's just how it works. You just got to build it up. So thank you for tuning in, and looking forward to giving you some good news updates next week. Thank you and have a good one. Bye-bye.